So guys, let's get into it. The double date. The Vipers are still on honeymoon. Okay? So let's look into this. I mean, first they're in Hima, now in Plascon. What exactly is going on?
It's a very good gesture. Vipers, the champions of Ugandan football, they won the Uganda Premier League last season quite convincingly, and they also went on to win the Uganda Cup. So they are Salongos. That moniker is given to teams which win both the league and the cup double. And quite a few clubs have managed it. AC Villa have managed it, KCC and Express. It used to be a prison for AC Villa back in the day, but Vipers have now become Salongos twice, winning the Uganda Cup and the league double. So I think it's a good thing that they're going to go to Hima first. It will be a trophy procession which will start from St. Mary's Chitende, where they play their football, straight to Namamve, to the head offices of Hima, or who are their sponsors, and then they'll have breakfast there, Mark, and engage with the staff of Hima Cement. Hima are one of their sponsors, and for me that's a very good thing, because most of the times as clubs, as sports institutions, you go to pitch for sponsorship. But this time around, you're going to go and visit there to show them what their money has delivered, what the investment has delivered for the institution of Hima Cement. And then thereafter, after that lengthy sumptuous breakfast, they will make a procession to Plascon, who are the other sponsors, where they'll have lunch. So a good feel... It's a good feel journey for Vipers, if you ask me, and I'm happy that having recognized all the stakeholders who have been part of them, that they're going back to their sponsors to show them what their investment delivered and how it tripped the league and cup double, Mark.
Yeah, it's a quite nice thing. For starters, of course, here on Mark to Mark, we are calling it a parade, but it's not exactly a parade. So they don't have an open talk bus going through the streets of Kampala and all, but they're going, like Mark said, from Vipers to those two sponsors. It's I liked it. For starters, Vipers have got a very traditional Ugandan strongman as the boss. The people who we've traditionally known to spend a lot of money on their clubs and virtually run it out of their own pockets. The tradition started by Patrick Kawoya, perhaps, and carried on by the Mandelas and Chirumiras of this world. Godfrey Chirumira at Express, Mandela at Villa and Mugabe and a few other guys. I mean, Adipondo used to do something like that at KCCA. Express have had their own even before Chirumira. They had others, including the late chairman Mugambe. But they and so it has happened like that for a lot. And then, of course, there came clubs, Nduparaka, Chitara, clubs which have had guys spending their own money to keep them alive. It's not a very sustainable thing, but if anybody in Ugandan football can actually sustain that, it's Lawrence Mulindwa. He's got the pockets deep enough to continue to do that because we know he's got other sources of money which are constant at the moment. The thing, though, is that for him then to recognize that he's got a helping hand from these people and respect them the way he has done is a very good thing. We remember on the previous episodes we had talked about Mulindo actually giving the entire prize money out of the league to his players and then topping it up with some of his own for the players to enjoy themselves. I think eventually they ran off with 250 million, that squad.
Wow.
That is outside of the official prize money.
Of the official prize money.
For winning both the Uganda Cup and the Premier League and the league.
Yeah,
so that money is in excess of 400 million Uganda shillings.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's good, and because we encourage corporate sponsors to come on board. These brands usually are good to associate with. There was a worry before about, of course, corporate sponsors have always worried about two things. One, the numbers being attracted by these clubs through the gates on match day. They are no longer enough. They're not filling up stadiums. And two, of course, was some of the bad publicity generated by a few controversies in and around the league. Violence in the stands, the hooliganism and the fighting, bad officiation from perhaps compromised referees or things like that, with match fixing and everything. Those are the worries that corporate sponsors would ideally have. But I think we're getting better on all fronts. For starters, Vipers, of course, especially when they play at St. Mary's Chitende, are guaranteed a full stadium. They have support
Definitely,
from the
yes,
locals and as well as from the school.
Actually, Mark,
school
for me,
kids,
the biggest thing which Vipers have done over and above their trophies and building the stadium at St. Mary's Chitende is that they've finally developed a
proper fan base.
A proper fan base.
Yes.
Because URA were dominant for quite some time. You had Police coming and winning the league. You've had teams which have come and tried to impose themselves, a ball here, and whichever, here, but none of them quite developed a proper fan base.
Yeah.
Vipers right now have a fan base which they can take to any stadium in the country, and you'll feel their presence.
And you'll feel them, yeah.
You'll feel
They'll
that this is
show
a
up.
team which has got quite a significant following, and
Yeah.
that is a very, very big achievement.
Yes, absolutely. That red, the colors. Of course, Lawrence Mulindo has a previous history as an Express fan. I don't know if that's what inspired the red.
That is what. Okay, it's twofold.
Yeah.
He has a previous history of being an Express fan, but he's also a fan of Manchester United.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like
so
you.
I see. Oh, that's why.
Like you.
So it's both on both fronts. We are the same. So anyway, so they put on the red, but these days they own the red in that sense because they've got this fan base of people who live within the environment of Chitende and Bunamwaya and all around, all the way up to Kabawa and all. They have that fan base and Kajansi and all. Then they have a generation of school-going kids from Chitende, many of whom have gone through the school, have since become graduates and working class.
Yeah.
They've remained loyal to Vipers, and then they still have the conveyor belt is still producing. The students who are there support the club, and then the ones who have left support the club. So it's there. But the one thing I liked, Mark, is Lawrence Mulindo. Of course, is his football depth is such that when I checked as I came here, is he actually is now pouring all his attention into Maokota. The Masaza Cup are kicking off on 21st.
Yeah.
On 21st of June.
Yeah.
And Lawrence Mulindo is quite attached to Maokota.
Oh, yes.
They're the guys actually now using the Chitende as a training ground.
Yeah.
And you can expect...
He comes from Kamengo, which is in Maokota.
Which is in Maokota, yeah. So you can expect that he's extending his fortune, the way he spends it on his club. To the Stars of Maokota.
Yes, Mark, I can tell you for a fact that Masaza are leaving no stone unturned. I know that they're currently on a spree to attract the very best players to Maokota, and even some very good players, because they know that Dr. Lawrence Mulindo is at the helm. They're trying to start some kind of, provoke some kind of interest into being lured to play for Maokota.
I know they've taken.
Believe me,
they've already taken 5 from us from Budu. I'm from Budu. Budu are defending champions. We won last year.
Yeah,
you know what we did to.
Yes, I know.
To Chagwe.
I know.
In the final in Nambole, we beat Chagwe last year. We won this. Now Lawrence Mulindo and his Maokota people have gone and taken 5 of our players.
And he is in very good spirits now because Vipers won the double.
Yeah. So
and he's comfortable, and when he's excited, he now wants to transfer that dominance into his.
But I also know that outside of the going to their sponsors and all this Maokota thing, Lawrence Mulindo will be looking to beef up that team of Vipers just so they can extend that dominance to the continent, because on the continent is where Vipers have still not matched what Villa, Express and KCC have managed. These are teams which have all, at least at one point during their dominance of Ugandan football, reached at least a semi-final of a continental tie. KCC have done it. Express did it in 95. Villa did it in 91 and 92. They got to finals, actually. To finals,
so this time round.
So with Vipers, I know will want to do that. I have heard, Mark, that one of the things they are trying to do is to actually sign Jude Semugabi from Chitara. Jude Semugabi has been one of the best players in the league over the last 2 seasons, and Vipers, I think, have been talking to him. Now, I just had I've heard of a catch. KCCA have jumped into the fray. They also want to steal that signing because Vipers, I think, talked to him first. And
with KCC jumping in, you can be sure that Vipers are going to do everything
in their power to pull off the stops,
to pull it off, because they love to get one over KCC.
One over KCC. Okay, right, Mark. Because I've heard that KCC were hoping to get a player in because I think Brian Senyondo, who once coached Kitara, these days they're coached by Wasobosa, Who has Coach Kara? Is somebody they expect might end up at Lugogo. At Lugogo, KCCA finished the season with Magera as interim coach after the firing of Abdallah Mubiru. Yes, so they look like, it looks like, I've heard that they might be taking Brian Senyondo. I don't know. And Senyondo has some influence on Jude Semugabi. The thing though is that KCCA are offering a lot less money than Vipers are offering for Jude. Jude's only problem is apparently Vipers are offering a 4-year contract and KCCA are offering 2. Jude prefers a 2-year contract.
Yeah.
I understand that players in Uganda football, of course, don't want to be tied down to long contracts because they're always looking. One eye is out the door, one foot is out the door. They're looking to get out there. And it's usually easier for them to get professional contracts outside of Uganda, even if it's just in Rwanda or Tanzania, or if it is further abroad, if they're free agents and there's no sign-on fee involved. Now, clubs here also want to earn from these players, especially if they commit money. So you would understand why Vipers would want to tie a player down to 4 years.
4 years,
because they're going to spend a lot of money on him. Sign-on fees for these players these days are in extents of hundreds of millions, which wasn't the tradition before. So if somebody is going to spend the kind of money Mulindo spends on a player if he wants him, yes, it is understandable that you should tie number to contract so that when they sell him, they make some money off him.
I think it's a good thing that players think critically through their options before making a decision. Because previously we've seen players just rush onto the sign-on fee and not internalize the actual detail.
Those figures are usually head turners for our players who don't have that.
But I like that a player like June Semugabi, who is young, is thinking the long term. Because you're going to be given a sign-on fee which looks astronomical right now, but you're tying your hands, you're handcuffing yourself.
Yes.
And then you're going to be in a position where you don't have the liberty to make bigger decisions in 2, 3, 4 years down. So when you think through critically, what must be done and what are the repercussions of X and Y, I think he's going to make a more informed decision and whatever decision he makes, he will be at peace that I thought through this before deciding to sign for either KCC or Vipers or whichever team is leading the chase for his signature.
Yeah, they have advisors these days. They have agents, so they make better decisions than they used to. There's a time when transfers in Uganda were just about player and club. People are visiting you at night, dragging you. I mean, there was even incidents where we would put players, not me personally, but when I say we, the clubs, and one of which I supported, would put players in the boots of cars just to hide them from others. But now, money talks. And ultimately, Lawrence Mulindo, one of the ways he has recouped some of the money the fortune he has spent on that club, is through the sale of players. There have been some players who have fetched upwards of $300,000 and all.
I know that he got 1.4 billion for Farouk Mia.
Yeah,
and that's what helped kickstart the financing of the stadium.
Yeah, you can imagine. Yeah, so that's a good thing. He's been getting some money off those, returning not all of the money that he spends, but returning some of it. When you talk returns, Mark, it has also, I heard again also on the grapevine that there's a possibility that Cesar Manzoki might return to Vipers. Now, Manzoki left Vipers. He's one of the more successful foreign imports into Ugandan football.
When he was in the league, he was head and shoulders
above everybody else. He was the best goal scorer in the league.
He was the best player in the league.
Best player in the league, Manzoki, at the time he was there. So he left, I think, went to China. He's been playing in India lately. But I also understand that he's actually had surgery. So I think he's had some time off. I've heard that he might be looking to recoup by returning where things worked out for him in the past. That would be like Alan Okello going to Algeria, getting injured and everything, and coming back home and then regaining his fitness and form. So Manzoki I've heard of, but I've also heard that Vipers have signed a Congolese defender. I know that by the time the season starts, Vipers will be looking to splash out on the continent. I've also heard, Mark, that there's a few key players whose contracts have run out, but that they're expected to resign. It's very difficult by that to leave Lawrence Mulindo and Vipers. I've heard that Milton Karisa, Karim Watambara, I think, and Rogers Torach, 3 of those key players in the key positions on the field for Vipers whose contracts have run out, but they expect that they'll resign.
And those are 2 of their better players last season, Karim Watambala and Rogers Torach. They had outstanding seasons for Vipers in both the league and the cup. But, clearly Mulindwa is going for the Champions League. He wants to make an impact there. He doesn't make numbers there.
He must. He cannot settle.
And of course, part of that,
yeah.
for him to do that, he'll have to have some bit of consistency in the dugout, because we've known him to be someone who is trigger happy, and you're not going to get that consistency in CAF Champions League football when you don't have some kind of stability in the dugout. When you're hiring and firing, you're getting coaches from all over the world, and then you're firing, paying compensation and all. So I do not know if he's going to stick to that pairing, which delivered both trophies. I don't know if he's going to try and explore elsewhere to bring in a foreign coach. We have to wait and see. But whatever it takes, there's got to be some kind of consistency and confidence instilled in that individual who's going to be overseeing the tactical direction of the club from the dugout.
All right, thank you so much. That was so much onto the Vipers right now. And since, well, they're with Plascon right now, I hope they get to paint the next season red as well.